This is a TalkStation original podcast.
What's been the fallout since Friday afternoon's disclosure between the debate between President Trump and President Zelenskyy?
Certainly, the Ukrainians that I talk with was, again, very disappointed, like Americans, on what happened on Friday and how it happened. Ukrainians certainly believe that Russia's the one that started the war.
Right.
Ukraine would love to have peace 3 years ago, peace every day since then. But in their words, I mean, if their troops all came home and didn't fight any longer, that doesn't mean the war's over. That means Russia will just continue to advance.
Right.
And so yes, nobody's happy with the results from Friday. As you and I just talked about, Ukrainians are thankful that Europe is stepping up. Great Britain and France and Germany have all, the Baltic states have come forward some. Everybody wants peace. Everybody wants peace. But peace is not just the absence of war. It's that peace of mind of knowing that this will not happen again. And that's where Ukraine wants those assurances that not just to say, okay, the war's over with today, because as I've explained the last 2 weeks, it's been every 2, 4, 6 years in which Russia's encountered Ukraine once again, and they want that determination that things are over with, finalized, and peace can happen by all people.
You know, the other aspect of the events in Ukraine have, if you will, revolved around the European Union, which apparently Ukraine sought to become a member, and NATO. Those two issues. Do you see those as, if you will, absolutes for Ukraine to accept some sort of a peace arrangement, or are those negotiable? And I've got to say at the outset, ladies and gentlemen, our guest does not speak for Ukraine. I'm just wondering, in the conversations with folks, how interested have they been on NATO and the European Union? Have they even discussed it, or is that something that's being discussed, if you will, in the clouds among the political leaders within Ukraine?
Well, my whole time, not whole time, but my time in being over there, that was always a top-notch discussion.
Okay.
That for that long-term security, to be a part of NATO, to be a part of the EU.
Okay.
They've always wanted that. Now, I mean, I always want to be honest in everything that we say
fine.
here.
Yeah.
Eastern Ukraine, especially right along the border, they speak Russian as their first language.
Right.
Russia's the motherland. and so they would not say that, and that's where much of the fighting's taken place. But the rest of Ukraine has got more European relatives and background and culture within the country of Ukraine. So it's always been a big pull for them to want the security of NATO and the security of the EU. Other former Soviet countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, the Baltic states, have both of those.
Right.
A former Russian Soviet Union military base is now a NATO base in Lithuania that much happens from. All three of those countries are in the EU. That's where Ukraine has always tried to step forward in saying they want those same securities. And I think what I'm hearing from people, I mean, the whole time I was there, but continuing today, just to have those securities that they don't want anything else to stop, just to start back up again. And being a part of the EU, being a part of NATO, would give them that security that it won't happen again. So that's where they're coming from on that.
Okay, quick question. What do you hear from your contacts in Russia? And maybe as a result of Friday's event, but even so, I'm still reading stories that the economy in Russia is not good. What are you hearing?
And that's correct, where the oil money has always pumped up the Russian economy. Putin and the leaders didn't want the normal Russian people to see that the war has hurt them in any way.
Right.
But as you say, these last few months, the economy really has taken a hit in Russia. They certainly have watched the news from Friday on Russian media, and they're excited to hear the results of that, because in their eyes that only supported Putin in his efforts on what's going on, where Ukrainians will see that and say that's hurt. I've had very few people, even though I know it's in the newspaper reported and on media reported, that there's some people now in Ukraine that want Zelenskyy to resign. Of the people that I know, there's been just very, very few that have said that. They have said he was just misunderstood or didn't talk in the right way at that moment. But everybody wants peace. Everybody wants peace. It's just finding the best way of making that happen.
If President Zelenskyy is able to work a deal with President Trump, and of course the question has to do with the topic of the minerals, what was the feeling there in Ukraine about that possible trade-off?
Again, I'm speaking for Ukrainians that I know. Those minerals are very, very important to Ukraine. They were very important to all the countries of the former Soviet Union. And that's why Russia keeps on going to that area, everybody believes. It's because that's where the minerals are at. So first of all, if America takes minerals, they'll be in that very same area that Russia's trying to get to, in the Donbass area, Lugansk and Donetsk, and trying to get those minerals. And so that's going to be interesting because it's right there together. But many of them even use the word rape, is that Russia's gone in war and trying to take the minerals.
Right.
America wants to come and, quote, quote, rape the country and take the minerals home with them. And so there's some people that's upset over that and the way it's been worded and everything. I keep on trying to tell everybody this is the beginning. It's looking at trying to get peace first and then working out the details later. It's everybody agreeing the war needs to stop and stopping the war, and then, really working out the details from that. But Ukrainians will say if Ukraine stops fighting, then Russia wins the war. I said that wrong.
But I understand.
If Ukraine stops fighting, they lose Ukraine.
Right.
The country of Ukraine's gone. If Russia stops fighting, the war may be over, but Ukraine's fighting for their very existence.
Right. It's the other aspect of this, and we're going to wrap it up with you, Pastor Patrick Whaley. And again, I want to remind folks, if you're at least a bit concerned, all you've got to do is send a check, any amount, to First Methodist Church in Morehead City. The address, First Methodist Church, 900 Arundel Street, Morehead City, North Carolina, 28557. Make the check payable to First Methodist Church, but on the memo line, write Ukraine. There are no carrying charges, no expenses. First Citizens Bank is doing this gratis. That's a very generous effort on the part of First Citizens Bank. Thank you very much to the Holden family.